All right, let's just jump right in. Imagine for a second that you get a new teammate, except this one works 24/7, never gets tired, can process mountains of data in the blink of an eye, and, get this, it actually starts fixing problems before you even know they exist. This isn't some sci-fi movie plot. This is Agentic AI, and trust me, it's about to change pretty much everything.
You know, for the past couple of years, we've all gotten pretty used to AI that can chat with us, write our emails, and make cool pictures. But what if it could actually do things? What if it could move beyond just generating content and start taking real autonomous action in the world? That is the massive leap we're talking about today.
So this is the most important thing to get our heads around. On one side, you've got generative AI. Think ChatGPT. It's totally reactive. You give it a prompt and it gives you something back. Some text, some code, an image. But on the other side, you've got Agentic AI. This is proactive. You don't give it a prompt, you give it a goal. And it goes off and figures out all the steps to achieve that outcome on its own. It's the difference between having a brilliant researcher and having a world-class project manager who just gets stuff done.
But how on earth did we get here so fast? I mean, this feels like it came out of nowhere, right? Well, it didn't happen overnight. Agentic AI is actually the next logical step in this incredibly rapid evolution of what machines are capable of. And what's just wild is the speed of this. Seriously, think about it. Back in late 2022, we had these basic models that were kind of like a brain in a box. By 2024, they could connect to live data and use simple tools. But now we're heading into a world of advanced decision-making and entire teams of specialized AIs working together. It's not a straight line of progress, it's a rocket ship.
Okay, so that brings us back to this idea of a digital teammate. And I want to be clear, we're not just talking about a fancy new tool here. This is a collaborator. So what exactly is it that makes an AI truly agentic? What are the core ingredients?
It really boils down to 4 key traits that set these systems apart. First up is perception. It has to be able to see and understand what's happening in its environment right now. Second, it needs autonomy so it can make its own decisions without you holding its hand. Third, it has to be goal-oriented. You give it the what, and it figures out the how. And finally, and this is crucial, it has to have adaptability. When it makes a mistake, it learns from it and course corrects.
And this quote just nails the disruptive power of this shift. For decades, the IT support model has been totally reactive, right? Something breaks, someone files a ticket, and a human hero has to go figure it out. Agentic AI comes along and just flips that entire script on its head, moving us from reactive and human-dependent to proactive and autonomous.
Okay, so we know what they are in theory, but how do they actually, do things? How does a language model, which is fundamentally just good with words, go and execute a command or update a system? Let's get into the secret sauce.
Well, the reality is, if you throw a really complex task at one single monolithic AI model, it's probably going to struggle. It gets confused by weird edge cases. You can't just write one giant prompt and hope for the best. The much smarter solution is to break the problem down into what's called an agentic workflow.
Let's make this super simple with a grocery list example. Imagine you have a list of items that weren't bought and some notes from the shopper explaining why. An agentic workflow would tackle this like an assembly line. Step 1, a small specialized agent just extracts the items that have an explanation. Step 2, a different agent, one that's great at classifying things, decides if those reasons are valid or not. Step 3, another one compares the lists. And finally, a fourth agent writes up a perfect report. See, each step is dead simple, but together they solve a complex problem reliably. Now, the magic piece that makes all of this possible is a technology called tool calling. And honestly, this is the absolute game changer. Think of it as the bridge that connects the AI's brain to the real world, to your company's APIs, databases, and other systems. It's a secure way for the AI to request an action, get the result back, and then decide what to do next. This is literally how thought becomes action.
And look, this is not some theoretical thing we're hoping for in the future. This is happening right now. Huge companies, we're talking Netflix, Etsy, Airbnb, are already using these systems. And the results they're getting are just, well, they're staggering. Let's look at the actual numbers.
And we are not talking about small incremental improvements here. We're seeing companies slashing the time it takes to fix IT problems by 65%. They're automating away 80% of their routine support tickets, and they're cutting out 95% of that constant alert noise, freeing up their human experts to focus on the stuff that really matters. This is a massive leap. And the financial impact? It's just as huge. Take Walmart. They built an AI super agent that analyzes hundreds of millions of data points.
Everything from weather patterns to local events to autonomously run its supply chain. The result? An estimated $4.2 billion in reduced waste every single year. That's just mind-blowing.
This is also transforming critical sectors like healthcare. You have agents that can now handle insurance claim denials all by themselves, cutting down a process that used to take weeks. In clinics, you have agents that listen to doctor-patient conversations and automatically draft the clinical notes, reducing the administrative burden on doctors by over 50%. That means more time with patients.
Okay, this all sounds incredible, but let's be real for a second. Giving an AI the keys to your company's systems, that's a big deal. So we absolutely have to talk about safety, security, and the essential role that we humans play in all of this.
So, when these agents fail, and they do fail, the #1 reason is something called a hallucinated API call. A whopping 42% of the time, the AI basically just makes up a command that sounds right but doesn't actually exist. This just goes to show how critical it is to have really strong controls in place. So how do you protect yourself? Here's the secret. You don't trust the AI model itself. Instead, you build a fortress of guardrails around it. This means things like securely managing all the passwords and keys, giving the agent the absolute minimum permissions it needs to do its job, validating everything it tries to do, and keeping a perfect audit trail of every single action it takes. And this leads to a really crucial shift in how we think about this. For a long time, we've thought of having a human in a loop as a weakness, like a temporary crutch until the AI gets better. That's totally wrong. It's not a bug, it's a core feature. It's how you combine the incredible speed and scale of the machine with the wisdom and judgment of a human. And I love this quote because it perfectly captures our new role in this world. As agents take over more and more of the day-to-day doing, our job shifts. We're no longer the ones playing a single instrument. We become the strategic conductors of an entire orchestra made up of both human and AI teammates. So, with all that said, where is all this headed? The path forward is pointing very clearly to a future of what people are starting to call the agentic organization.
And the transformation here is just stark. We're moving from a world where decisions take days or weeks to one where they happen in minutes. Error rates are plummeting because we can reduce human bias, and the focus of our human talent is shifting away from just performing tasks and toward orchestrating these incredible outcomes. And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. We've talked about agents in IT, supply chain, and healthcare, but what happens when the finance department has a digital teammate, and marketing, and logistics? What does a world actually look like when every single part of a business has its own dedicated autonomous agent? That's the future we're all stepping into, one agent at a time.